Hello again, everybody. It's Cat Stanley Space Demon coming at you, and today I want to talk about original Black Crowes guitarist Jeff Cease and whatever happened to him. Now, if you're a rock and roll fan, you probably know something about the Black Crowes. Their debut album, 1990's Shake Your Moneymaker, was a smash hit, full of rock radio staples like the smash She Talks to Angels, Twice as Hard, Jealous Again. The list goes on and on. Follow-up album Southern Harmony and Musical Companion was a huge success. More albums would follow throughout the years. The band would even go on to tour with Jimmy Page in 2000, performing Led Zeppelin songs and Black Crowes material. The band would split up and reconvene a couple times. Band members would do solo projects. And then in 2020, they celebrated the 30th anniversary of that debut album. Chris and Rich Robinson reunited for the Shake Your Moneymaker live tour, where they played the album in its entirety. And recently, they recorded a brand new record called Happiness Bastards. Just came out, and I believe the band's on the road as we speak. But the original lead guitarist on that first album, Shake Your Moneymaker, a guy by the name of Jeff Cease, he played on that one album before leaving after the Shake Your Moneymaker tour. Want to talk about what he did after leaving the group, why he left the group, and also delve into a little rock and roll mystery involving Major League Baseball. So Jeff Cease was born June 24th, 1967 in Nashville, Tennessee. He's 57 years old. Couldn't find much about his early life other than that apparently he was a drummer before he became a guitarist, and it was his parents who steered him into playing guitar during his teens to avoid the noise of the drums. But when he met the Black Crowes, he was playing in a band called Rumble Circus, which is fronted by a guy named Jeffrey Williams, who'd actually gone to high school with Black Crowes drummer Steve Gorman. The Black Crowes were getting ready to begin sessions for the Shake Your Moneymaker album, but were in search of a lead guitarist. Rumble Circus actually opened up a show for the Crowes in Atlanta, and when he found out they were looking for a second guitarist, he volunteered. He felt Rumble Circus were going nowhere, and he loved the band, who were then still known as Mr. Crow's Garden. He'd go on to play on Shake Your Moneymaker, and the band would go on to change their name to the Black Crowes after pressure from their record label Deaf American and producer Rick Rubin, who even suggested they change their name to the Cobb County Crowes, spelled with all K's. Get it? KKK? Now, needless to say, the band were having none of that shit, and they opted for the Black Crowes moniker instead. Chris Robinson added the E to the end of Crowes, quote unquote, for the fuck of it. Jeff would continue to perform with the band throughout the meteoric rise of Shake Your Moneymaker and the massive success that record brought the band. Drummer Steve Gorman wrote in his memoir that a turning point with Jeff came at a performance for MTV on New Year's Eve in 1990. The show was a pre-tape, and when the band ran through their second number, Hard to Handle, it was clear to everyone that Jeff had, quote unquote, butchered the guitar solo. Okay, so you can hear it does sound pretty bad, and if you take a listen to the outro solo, it didn't sound much better either. But in fairness to Jeff, he didn't actually play the solo for that song on the record. On Shake Your Moneymaker, the solo on Hard to Handle was actually composed and performed by a guy named Brendan O'Brien, who was helping produce the record at the time. Now, after the performance, the band knew the solo was bad, and even though it was a pre-tape, they weren't allowed to re-record the song. And when the band gathered on New Year's Eve to watch the broadcast, it was even worse than they had remembered, prompting Jeff to remark, sheepishly, "Fuck, man, I'm sorry, guys." Gorman called Jeff a solid working man's guitarist and a quote-unquote great guy. But he said the material they were working on for the follow-up album, Southern Harmony and Musical Companion, was quote-unquote way more musical and more involved. He also alluded to the fact that Jeff seemed unhappy and may have had less of a tolerance for the dysfunction and bullshit involved with being in a band with the Robinson brothers. Now, he didn't actually say the part about bullshit. I added that part myself, but Gorman talked about a meeting the band had after the Shake Your Moneymaker tour to address the Jeff C. situation. The band gathered on guitarist Rich Robinson's deck, drinking a few beers and bullshitting, before Rich finally spoke up. Rich said, "I just don't think we can keep going with Jeff. He's miserable to be around, and his playing can't keep up," prompting Rich's brother and lead singer Chris Robinson to reply, "Yeah, it's too bad, but fuck him. He's out." Now, apparently, Steve Gorman says he didn't really disagree with the decision to sack Jeff, but he goes on to talk about how, he hated when bands changed their original lineup, and he kind of gave a half-ass defense of Jeff. But in the end, they all agreed Jeff needed to go, and they were going to leave it up to their manager, Pete Angelus, to call Jeff, who was vacationing in Hawaii at the time. But supposedly, before Angelus had a chance to call him, Jeff Cease reached out to the band himself from Hawaii and told Pete he was quitting. Apparently, Jeff said, "I don't want to be here," that is in the band, "anymore. No harm, no foul. I just don't want it to be ugly. I don't hate anybody, and I don't want them to hate me." Gorman goes on to say it was classic Jeff Cease. He's just, quote unquote, a good fucking dude. I don't know, it seems kind of dubious to me that here they were having this meeting about sacking the guy from the band, and coincidentally enough, he just happened to call them first and quit. I mean, I guess I have no reason to disbelieve Steve Gorman's part of the story. It just seemed a little odd to me, though, the way he described it, but I guess you got to take the guy's word for it. After leaving the Black Crowes, he'd go on to form a group called Bitter Pills. He even played in Bucky Covington's band. You might remember Bucky Covington from season 5 of American Idol. He finished number 8 on the show that season. He's also played with country singer-songwriter Trent Tomlinson, who's had a pretty successful career, along with Eric Church. Now, Eric Church has had a very successful country music career. He's had a string of top 10 singles, including number ones like Drink in My Hand and a song called Springsteen. He's had a few other country radio airplay number ones, songs called Talladega and Hell of a View, among others. So it sounds like mainly he's been focusing on country music. He also mentioned on his Instagram that he plays in a Blondie cover band, guitar and keyboards. So it sounds like he's been keeping busy, but, to be able to play with guys as successful as Eric Church, and this Tomlinson guy who seems like he's had a pretty good career, he's got to be a pretty good guitarist. You think a guy like Eric Church might have his pick of some good players. I don't know, a guy who's had that much success. So, to be able to play with a guy like Eric Church, Jeff Cease has got to be a pretty good guitarist. But, maybe he just wasn't cut out for the bullshit involved with the Black Crowes. But there's something else I want to delve into. A little rock and roll mystery that has to do with Major League Baseball. If you're a baseball fan, you might have heard of a guy named Dylan Cease. He's a very good pitcher. He pitched for the White Sox. Recently got traded to the San Diego Padres. Now, I always wonder if there was some kind of a relation. As soon as I heard about Dylan Cease, I immediately thought of Jeff Cease from the Black Crowes, thinking, is there some kind of a relation here? Because Dylan Cease was born December 28, 1995 in Milton, Georgia. Now, the Black Crowes were a Georgia-based band. Even though Jeff Cease was born in Nashville, when he joined the Black Crowes, they were a Georgia-based band. The Robinson brothers hailed from Georgia. I think they're from suburban Atlanta. But it really got me to thinking, maybe there's some kind of relation. Is this Jeff Cease's son? So I had to do a little digging, because the guy's name is Dylan, right? I mean, Jeff Cease is a musician. Maybe he named the kid after Bob Dylan. So I had to do some digging. And apparently Dylan Cease has a twin brother named Alec, who also played high school baseball. Per Wikipedia, Dylan Cease's mother is named Ann Cease, and his father is named Jeff. So I immediately thought, okay, it's gotta be the same guy. Jeff Cease from the Black Crowes has a son who was a major league pitcher and a pretty damn good one. Now it goes on to say that his father Jeff played high school football, which kind of made sense because I know Chris Robinson was a big baseball fan himself. Steve Gorman is a big time sports guy. He even hosted a sports radio talk show at one point. So why wouldn't Jeff have played high school football? Seemed plausible to me, right? It also says Dylan's grandmother, Betty Cease, played professional baseball. Now, there was a link on the Eric Church Facebook page from 2015 to a Gibson interview with Jeff Cease. But if you click on the link, it's a dead link. And I looked up Jeff's Instagram, and it says he's been married to a woman named Stephanie since 2010. Now, there's no mention of any kids or any other prior relationships, but I did do some more research. It says that Dylan Cease's father is Jewish, but I also found this guy's Instagram page where he has a picture of Jeff Cease, and he talks about how he had a conversation with Jeff about how Jeff and his wife accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior. So it doesn't sound like Jeff Cease, Black Crowes, is Jewish based on that. But that didn't completely burst my bubble. My bubble didn't get completely burst until I found this family photo. Dylan Cease and his twin brother Alec with their parents, Jeff and Ann. Obviously not Black Crowes Jeff Cease. But goddamn, there was a hell of a lot of coincidences, man. I had myself convinced for the longest time that Dylan Cease was the son of the original Black Crowes guitarist. But the fact that they share the same name, Jeff, and they're both from Georgia. Now, there still might be some kind of a relation there. I really don't know. But yeah, I thought for sure Jeff Cease from the Black Crowes was the father of Dylan Cease. I even thought maybe they were estranged. Maybe he was a product of a brief relationship, one of those fleeting rock and roll relationships. I really had no idea until I did a deep dive for this video. And to be honest, it was kind of disappointing to find out he's not the father. But wow, it was fascinating to me. Little journey doing this video to find this stuff. But I hope you dug it. The story of how the Black Crowes became deceased and a little rock and roll mystery. I feel just like Robert Stack. Hope you dug the video, and we'll see you next time. Who's here?